Hey everyone, back again today. And today we're going to be talking with Ken, Mr. Biz, about budgeting. So, specifically, budgeting for franchise systems. So, um, again, we're going to keep this under 10 minutes to keep it short. A lot of stuff to cover. So, let's just go ahead and jump in here, Ken. Um, why is budgeting so important for businesses?
Yeah, Jason, I tell you, and I know you know this. You and I have talked about this offline before, but I won't work with a client if they don't want to have a budget because that's how powerful a budget is. So most businesses don't have a budget. Most businesses I've worked with, or if they've had one, it's been a haphazard attempt and they don't really use it. But I'll tell you, when we implement a budget for a business, whether it's a business that's been in existence for 5 years or 25 years, every time it creates a record-breaking year for them. And the main reason is, so first of all, the reason why I think budgeting gets such a bad rap is that people don't like, people think that it's a restrictive thing. I look at it as though people look at it like a diet. Like when I say the word diet to you, Jason, right? It's like, oh, I got to, drink water and eat lettuce. Well, that's not necessarily what it is. If you're in growth mode, your budget may be reinvesting back in your business. But the thing that's so powerful about a budget is being able to track, and especially for franchise systems with, all these different locations, you can track results every single month and see how you're doing versus your goals, right? You set the budget based on the goals you have, and then you see every single month, you can measure how you're doing against those goals by location, right? And then you can see, let's say, make up a franchise system that has, 10 products, and you can see by location, geez, location 2 is doing really well with product 4, but the other locations aren't doing as well. Well, why is that? Right? You can take best practices from that location that's doing well with that product and spread it across all of them, especially with something like Pulse, being able to implement those together. But so important. Think about it. It creates a fiscal framework for your business is what a budget does. And it allows you to measure against that. So, when you get into August of the year and you go, gosh, I think we need to hire some more people. Can we afford it? Well, how do you know? Right? Rather than just taking a back of the envelope, like, oh, well, we've been doing this, we've been doing that. You know exactly if a new marketing opportunity presents itself, do you have the money for that? Or do you not have the money for that? Are you willing to invest? Can you make up the difference? You can see if you're behind on your sales goals, again, by product, by service, by location, which ones are doing well, which ones are not doing well, and be able to figure that out every single month rather than 6 months into the year go, holy crap, we're behind by 25%. And we don't even know why, because we just know the overall number's off by 25%. Well, where? Why? Right? That's the thing that's so powerful for a budget. Even if you just have a single location, it's super powerful, but it's even more explosively powerful when you have multiple locations because of some of the things I just mentioned. So super important to help you. Go ahead.
It probably comes down to discipline, right? I mean, the discipline of just acting on it and having that structure, like you said, a diet, you can't just wing. It comes down to discipline. How would you suggest like the franchisor kind of acting as setting up budgets for potential franchisees, right? How to like implement that in on a franchise system wide thing?
Yeah, I think especially with that, in that scenario, it's important. And I think the franchisee would appreciate this as well, is knowing sort of what the expectations are. When I start a franchise, how long until I'm at the break-even point? How long should it be before I start hitting whatever, $100,000 in sales, whatever the mark may be? Because again, that gives you something to measure against. And your point's exactly right, Jason, on discipline. Most people just don't have the financial discipline. And this creates that discipline because every single month you're going to measure against it. But, having that franchisor to be able to give the guidance to the franchisee to say, hey, here again, like I mentioned, here are the expectations. The other franchises that have started with us, here's, the runway they've had to get to this plateau, to get to this goal, et cetera. And again, you can figure out, why am I behind? Why am I ahead? And your franchisor can really help with that, right? Because they've probably been there, done that, right? If the franchise has been in existence for a while, they've seen multiple locations and they said, oh yeah, well, we know sometimes with product number 4, you stumble and here's likely the reasons why. And again, you can get out of that stumble mode and back into striving mode and thriving mode very quickly, as opposed to, you know, taking a bunch of time and figure that out. And it will reveal some bad spending habits too, which is a good thing. You figure out pretty quickly, hey, you know, again, especially in the franchise system, why is this location spending so much on marketing? And if they are spending more on marketing, I would expect to see the return and their sales numbers going up. If that's not happening, why? What are they spending it on? You know, why are they not getting a return, et cetera?
Right. So can you break down the types of budgets a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different types, but really primarily there are two types of budgets. There's I'll call it an incremental budget, which is essentially when you say, okay, in 2019, here's what we did for our actuals for the year, and we want to build from that. And then there's also a zero-based budget, which is just like it sounds. You basically start with a clean slate and say, I'm starting from scratch and building from there. Really, the incremental budget, you can fall into this is the way we've always done it type thing, and you could get into bad spending habits with that. Zero-based is almost like you don't want to forget all the history you have with it. So kind of what I like to do is a hybrid between the two. But really, with either of one of those budgeting types, the two critical things you have to have in your budget. You have to put seasonality into your budget. If your business has any cyclicality, meaning you have busy seasons and slow seasons, and almost every business has that, right? Most businesses aren't just a straight, you know, every 12 months of the year are essentially the same. You have to bake that in. Otherwise, you could be 3 or 4 months in and feel like you're ahead when actually you're behind, because those should have been your bigger months.
Actually,
so baking
a good point for franchise systems, right? Because franchise systems that are spread across the U.S. or international, there's different seasonality, you know, in different territories. So
absolutely
different.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I said, you could end up looking like, oh my gosh, we're way ahead. And in reality, you're not. And so you got to make sure you bake that in, and you can use some, your historical trends to build that seasonality in, but that is super, super important. Think of a landscaping business that's based in the northern part of the United States, probably doesn't do much work during the winter months, right? So they would expect almost no sales, no revenue potentially, but during the summer, they should be just killing it, right? So that's an example, an extreme example of that, of baking that seasonality in, and using some of those historical trends with the goals in mind. Those are the things that are most important, because again, you want to make sure that what you're trading against, your budget's not crappy, right? That it has some, there's some historical significance to it, and some trends from your history baked into it as well.
Yeah, those are excellent points. Is there anything else that you can think of that is really important for a franchise system to look at?
Not really. I mean, again, you know me, I'm a numbers nerd. I could talk about budgeting, you know, till the cows come home. But no, those are the things. I mean, the main thing, if you take nothing away from this video, is you got to start creating it. You got to create a budget, start trending against it, and start measuring yourself against it. Again, if you're a franchisor and you don't have your franchisees with a budget, you got to start it. I promise you, you will have amazing results if you create a pretty solid budget, and then measure against it every single month. Again, think of the examples I gave earlier of how powerful that would be, just being able to see each location by product, et cetera, who's doing well, who's not doing well, and let's help those laggards, and let's accentuate the positives.
Well, great. Thanks for sharing, Ken. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about pricing. So that's going to be a really exciting topic to dig into. So if you are interested, tune in tomorrow around the same time. And also, if you're a franchise system and would like to understand how you can get real-time data and visibility on each of your franchisees, then check out Pulse Technology. We have Pulse for Franchises that will allow you to have a fully integrated franchise system, everybody using the same software but different applications, but all the data flows up to your corporate office. So would really help from setting up a budgeting standpoint, because you have real-time insights of data on those franchises. So
absolutely, yeah, it would be very, very good.
So that's it for today. We're going to wrap it up before this 10-minute mark, and we'll talk tomorrow.
All right. See you, Jason.
See you later.